Hey, here we go. Here's a quick video on how to split bunches of garlic chives or chives, depending upon what you call them. And I decided to do this really quickly because I got lazy and I just kind of hacked at this little ball real quick, and I wound up damaging a few. And it occurred to me that this is actually a kind of a useful thing to show people. I've been asked several times in the past, and so you can see I actually have just cut this bunch right here off of this pile. See this right here? Look at this. I'm actually going to leave the hoary right where it's at. That's this tool. You can see how these two sod bunches went right together like this. And so what you do is you want to split back the chives a little bit, and you want to find a nice spot where you can kind of see through, where it looks like you're not going to cut a whole bunch of the roots directly in half. And then you can cut a piece of sod like this straight in half. And you can see there's only what looks like 2 or 3 of these actual chive bulbs that I've cut in half by doing it this way. And maybe, 3 or 4 on this side. But still, one, those chives might actually still live amazingly, even after getting the roots cut in half. And 2, losing a few is just part of the game. And I'm going to cut this ball into another 4 or 5 sections. And I probably should have done it a little bit earlier in the season, right when they just started waking up. But in my experience, these things are just really hardy. And propagating a chive line directly in front of the passive solar house, you can see right here. And I'm doing it because these rocks, which I'm using for landscaping, which I pulled from my garden beds over the past few years, every winter they as they freeze and water freezes underneath them, the rocks lift up fractions of an inch and they slide downhill, and they're just always sliding downhill into the walkway. And so I'm digging in these large 30, 40, 50 pound pieces of shale that come right out of the ground, splitting them if I can, like that one looks beautiful, and I'm digging them in to the ground on a slight angle leaning towards the house. And then I'm going to backfill them with chives and dirt. And the plan here is to create a bit of a living retaining wall to keep the stones from being able to fall back down, so that way I don't have to pick them up every spring. But that's it. And like another a little quick example of how I'm doing this. You try to pick the best way you can see through it. It looks like this bunch is actually thinner now from this direction. And pull some of the chaff out of here from last year. And you're going to want to just pick a path through. This one actually looks really quite good. Pick a path through about like that. See where my pinky is? And then the key here, to not mess up like I did just a minute ago, is when you're using your hoary, which I recommend everyone get. This is just a $15 one from online. I quite like it though. Stainless. You can see here how the hoary has a bit of a bowl shape. It's almost a bit of it's almost like a little sharpened spoon basically. And the problem though is that you've got the serrated edge right here. You can see the serrations. The problem is that because of that angle, if you just kind of jab this in here and just saw, it's going to turn like this, and it's going to cut at an angle like this, and it's going to cut all your roots off right here. And I was already trying to be careful when I accidentally killed a half dozen of these chives, which I'm going to eat later, just before I started this video. And so what you want to do is you want to get your blade in there. When you go to saw, you want to put a slight cant. You want to lean outwards about 10 degrees, and as you saw down, it'll actually cut a line straight down through the sod, which is what you want. Otherwise, you risk damaging too many of them, and you might only get 5 out of 10 of these garlics to survive. And so here, I'll see if I can demonstrate with. I'm going to cut right through that line, and I'm going to see if I can demonstrate with just one hand. And put the hoary in there. Going to see now this is vertical, but I'm going to cut like this. And so there we go. Trying to saw and probably cut a couple, but I think I'm doing okay. Look at that. Some damage right there, but it's low enough these things might make it. And there we go. Look at this. Nice little block of chives. So look at that. Anything that I break or falls off, I'm just going to eat it because I'm in the mood for some potatoes. But that's what I do, and I can get at least one more segment out of this, and then within 2 years it'll turn into a giant ball, 2 feet around, and just put out the most beautiful purple flowers in the spring. And it'll be bringing in pollinators from the environment right across my entire garden in order to get all these flowers. And hopefully they'll continue pollinating my garden once they're full of chives.